Hi everyone, welcome back to Turkish series stars. If you love emotional, behind-the-scenes stories about the faces you adore, make sure you like, subscribe, and join to support the channel. Today we're opening a chapter that so many have whispered about, a chapter that feels both intimate and universal, the quiet ache and unspoken love of Yağmur Yüksel. For years, she moved through the flash of cameras like a phantom, graceful and guarded, letting the applause drown out the tremor beneath her smile. Silence became her shelter, a room with the lights off where her memories could breathe without judgment, where feelings didn't have to dress up for the press. But silence has a way of filling up, becoming heavy, and in a recent sit-down interview, the weight finally spilled over. It wasn't a dramatic outburst. It wasn't a scandal. It was a trembling confession that touched millions of hearts because it sounded like the truth so many are afraid to say out loud. She took a breath and let the past step into the daylight. Her voice quivered, and she admitted she had been carrying a single wish that felt both simple and impossible. All she had ever wanted was to walk into a future with one person. The room went still. The cameras kept rolling. And in the quiet after her words, you could hear the sound of something that had been locked away finally turning its key. For months, maybe longer, Yağmur avoided talking about Barry's Baktas. She floated past questions with elegance, turning curiosity into fog. She hid her feelings behind a practiced, steady smile, the kind you wear when you're trying to protect the tender part of your heart from sharp microphones and sharper headlines. But the truth, patient and persistent, waited like a wave. And waves always return to the shore. When it finally broke, it did not come with shouting or fury. It came with the softest kind of grief, the kind that burns quietly and leaves no marks, except the ones only the heart can see. What she told the interviewer was devastating in its simplicity. She said she had not been dreaming of glittering parties or endless headlines. She had been dreaming of choosing him, and of him choosing her back, forever. She said that if he had not turned away, they would still be side by side. The dream was not grand, just complete. That was the ache, not losing fame, but losing the ordinary future she had set a table for in her mind. It was a love that had stopped mid-sentence, a story that left the page unfinished, and you could feel how much it still lived inside her every time she reached for words and found only air. Friends close to the couple shared what the cameras can't catch. After their separation, there were no late-night fights at doorways, no scenes for paparazzi to feast on. There was only the quiet after. They spoke of nights when messages went unsent and mornings when she moved through the house like someone learning to walk again. They said she was consumed by that private storm, the kind that makes you polite in public and shattered in private. And one friend, hesitant but honest, revealed the detail that people can't stop replaying. She had everything ready. Not someday, ready. There was a dress folded away like a promise, a venue penciled in along the water where the wind smells like salt, a song picked out because it made her feel like life had finally chosen her back. But he left, and with him went a piece of that imagined future that was supposed to begin with hello and never learn to say goodbye. During the interview, she described those days with a heartbreaking balance of sadness and acceptance. She painted pictures with her voice, an aisle edged with candles, the sea breathing softly just beyond, a summer evening full of soft light and easy laughter. She described the smile she had hoped to catch on Barry's face as the music rose, the moment their eyes would lock and everything else would blur. But instead, there was a leaving that came without explanation. One morning, like a door closing in a draft, he was simply on the other side of her life. No words, no dramatic last scene, just absence. She said it felt like someone had taken the map she lived by and replaced it with blank paper. The route vanished. The destination became a rumor. And the future she thought she could reach by holding her breath and believing hard enough just dissolved. Time passed, because it always does, even when it shouldn't, and then came the twist that turned a private ache into a public storm. Months after the quiet breakup, when everyone assumed the book had been shelved, Barry stepped back into the spotlight and made a proposal where everyone could see. It was the grand gesture so many dream about, drenched in spectacle and sincerity. And that's where the story became complicated in the most human way. She admitted she was torn in two. One part of her wanted to run forward, fold into his arms, and say yes to the love she had never stopped carrying. The other part wanted to scream that time had not been kind, that the train had left the station, that some doors don't open the same way once they've been closed. Her honesty turned their chapter into something bigger than a celebrity headline. It became a parable of timing, of how love, even when it is bright and true, can arrive late to its own story. She said she didn't hold anger like a shield. Maybe he had done what he believed was right at the time. Maybe he had been scared of the very future she craved. But she also insisted, with that fragile strength that sounds like a whisper but lands like a bell, that she had a right to her truth. If he had not walked away, she would still be beside him now. That was her quiet promise to herself, and her quiet plea to the universe. She confessed that beneath all her denials, beneath the cool smile and careful interviews, she had simply wanted to be his wife. After the interview aired, the internet erupted the way only the internet can. Fans wrote long messages under short clips, saying they felt seen. People admitted their own stories that never got a last page, memories they still carry like a photograph in a wallet that's falling apart. The support for Yağmur was immediate and fierce, but soft in the way that mattered. Viewers began watching her recent work with new eyes, suddenly noticing the way a pause could break your heart, how a single glance could carry a backstory. Her performances felt different now, not because she had changed, but because people understood how much life she was pouring into every moment on screen. That's what real experience does, it turns lines into living things. Still, even in the center of heartbreak, she left a small window unlatched. She said real love doesn't vanish. It learns patience. It curls up and waits, not forever, but long enough to see if the person it belongs to will come back for it. Yet she was careful, so careful, to admit that she no longer knew whether she wanted that door to open again. She was torn between memory and reason, between the dignity she had fought for and the desire she had never fully buried. And while Boris kept his public words to a minimum, whispers from those close to him suggested he understood what words couldn't fix. Apologies don't stitch old fabric. Only actions can do that. And even then, only if the fabric wants to be whole again. Some stories fold themselves into tidy endings. This one didn't. It kept moving like tidewater, pulling forward and then back. What began as a celebrity romance has turned into a mirror that many didn't expect to look into. It's a lesson about timing, about how silence can protect us until it starts to isolate us, about how even the strongest connection can become fragile when too many days pass without the right conversation. And there is a grief that comes not from betrayal or fireworks, but from something far quieter, two people loving each other across a small distance that becomes a canyon when neither one is brave enough to build the bridge first. There was one line from the interview that viewers replayed until they knew it by heart. She said there is nothing more sorrowful than standing fully ready to love while the other person has already stepped away. It wasn't an accusation. It was a memorial to a moment, hers, his, theirs, that didn't survive the timing. And yet, in the spaces around her words, you could hear resilience taking root. She is learning how to be whole without waiting for a text, learning how to breathe without checking who is watching. She is not a tragic figure. She is a woman who knows exactly what she lost and is still choosing to walk forward. So here we are, with a story that didn't end where we thought it would. Maybe it's waiting for a new chapter, written with gentler hands and better timing. Maybe it will remain a beautiful echo, the kind you can hear on certain nights when the wind blows from the direction of the sea. Whether the door opens again or stays closed is not the only question anymore. The larger one is about what we learn from the ache we survive, how we choose ourselves without hardening, how we keep our hearts open without letting them bleed, how we remember what was good without letting it hold us hostage. If there's a future for Yağmur Yüksel and Boris Baktas, it will be built on actions that match words, and on a timing that finally honors the love that tried so hard to arrive on schedule. What do you think? Do Yağmur and Barış have a real chance to begin again, or are some wounds too deep for even the softest apology to soothe? Tell us your thoughts in the comments, and share which Turkish stars you want us to cover next. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join to support more stories like this. Thank you for spending this time with us here at Turkish Series Stars. We'll see you in the next video, where every whisper becomes a story and every story reminds us why we still believe in love.